I just saw a video that Nick put up over at Nick's Strength and Power. I guess he put it up today. And he was looking at some comments that Bob Paris has recently made in social media. And Bob has asserted that he should have won the Mr. Olympia in 1984 and 1985. So, now first off, Bob Paris, in my opinion, had the most aesthetic physique ever. In my opinion, the closest to bodybuilding perfection. And we're considering all around, seeing Bob Paris on stage, posing, his routine was just, he just looked like a moving, living, breathing, artistic exhibition. I mean, he looked like a work of art. You know, the way even he moved, his whole routine, just everything. I thought that he was flawless. I did read his book, Gorilla Suit. And, back in the era, in that time, Bob was encouraged to get bigger, put on some more size. And he reluctantly went that route for a little while. He didn't really want to. He really felt that was going against the grain of what he really felt was the perfect physique that he was pursuing. But nonetheless, he did it because, he thought that was the way to go. He wanted to improve his placings. And I think that I read in Gorilla Suit that he was standing in a line in a hotel, I think, and he had a suit on, and he thought to himself that he always had a suit on. For a moment, he just popped into his head that he always had this gorilla suit on, this muscle suit on. And he was in the 240s at the time, and for him, that was not comfortable, and he just didn't like it on him, the look. So, Nick mentioned about Bob, if he was natural, wasn't natural, or whatever his claims were. As far as my recollection is as to what I read, and I could be wrong or it could be bang on, but Bob never said he was a natural, but he wasn't a big gear user by any means. And by any means, he used very little, and when he was encouraged to do more, that's really what really soured him. Well, one of the things that he really didn't like going down that route. He felt that was taking his physique in the wrong direction. Anyway, and again, Bob Paris, when I first started to look at bodybuilding as something that I might want to delve into myself, and I'm not talking about bodybuilding competition. I'm talking about using weights to recontour, change the shape or physical appearance or silhouette that my physique made or that I owned or possessed, the body in which I dwelled. And the only reason I never looked at that before, the only reason I began to look at it was because I had an injury and I rehabbed it with weights, and my body responded so favorably, which was a surprise to me. Not only did the rehab, not only was it a great success, it took a long time, but it was a bad injury. It was a great success. But I put on muscle that I didn't know I would be able to do because I was a skinny kid, always underweight, pretty much. So when I actually took a look at it, said, well, let me look into this then. And I actually considered this might be something I might want to pursue to some degree or another. I looked at the physiques that were the top physiques of the time. And Bob Paris was the one I looked at and said, that's perfection to me. That's what I would like to look like. Now, I never achieved that level of perfection, of course, but it's just something I held up. Bob Paris's physique, his silhouette, the whole 9 yards. Just as, in my opinion, he was far and away the most artistic and the most aesthetic physique out there. I just thought he looked like just a piece of sculpture, just a living piece of sculpture. Of course, later on, I just kept getting bigger and bigger, and things changed. The whole thing changed. But I didn't look so bad at one point when I was trying to be more aesthetic. And some people might say I didn't look so bad when I was really, really big. So, I don't know. To me, I never thought that I really had an attractive physique when I was really, really big. But when I was aesthetic, I'll tell you what, I thought I looked pretty decent. So as far as Bob should have won the 84 and 85 Mr. Olympia, when you look at these lineups and you look at the placings, the finishers, where they placed, it eludes me as to exactly what the judges were out to award. But that's always the case, and that's so extreme today. It's why I don't go to bodybuilding shows. I have no interest in that. And even though I have friends, I have a friend I used to train with on the regular and see him every night in the gym. We all lived around each other and hung out. Jose Raymond. So even though Jose was so active and just so competitive, and did very well for himself. I think he should have actually done better. I don't think through any fault of his own. I think that he didn't. I think there were times that he didn't get the placings that he deserved, but that's got nothing to do with Bob Paris. This is just, even though, I know him. I think he's an awesome guy, Jose, and there's a couple other guys that I know, but I'm not that tight with. I have no interest in going to a bodybuilding show. Just don't. Haven't for a long time. Went to the Arnold, had a booth, and still didn't go to the show. But had it been back in that day with that lineup, those guys, 84, 85, around that time period, or even into the 90s, I might have had a different, thought. I may have gone to the show. And I don't like crowds or anything, but I may have gone to the show because that would have been a lot more appealing, I believe, to me. But nonetheless, when you look at the placings, 84, 85, 84 looks, I don't want to say random. I'm not trying to take away from the eye of the judges, and I wasn't there. Looking at pictures isn't the same as being there. And but it seems they placed, you'll have a guy that has like clearly a blockier, dense, muscular, blocky physique with really good conditioning though. And then you'll have a really aesthetic guy, and then you'll have a guy somewhere in the middle, and then you'll have another really blocky, chunky guy. And then you'll have, I don't mean chunky as in body fat, that he's carrying body fat, but if you get into the 85 and you look at, some of these guys from the back, like especially a double bi, there's one guy in there in particular whose waist looks a little thick-waisted, and the way that these placings are both years, really, it's hard to really say exactly what the judges were going for. What did they think was ideal? Were they going for a more aesthetic look? Or, they did this placing, then the one below it they didn't, then the one below that they did again. So it doesn't really make sense the way they ordered the physiques, in my opinion, to me. But I think that that's still, congruent the way that, it continues today. It doesn't make sense unless there's a political influence somewhere in there. It otherwise doesn't make sense. I know for a fact, and I don't care who tells you what, I know for a fact because I could name names and exactly what was said, and I was privy to that and heard that and was in the earshot of that right next to these people, because let's not forget my buddy George has been an NPC judge for, 28 years. Do you think that he's never heard anybody say, well, we want this person in this place? You think that's never been said? You think that's bullshit? It's not bullshit, I will tell you that. It's not bullshit, and that's all I'm going to say about that, but it's absolutely not bullshit. Absolutely not bullshit. So I don't know that Bob should have beaten Lee Haney, but he damn sure should have placed ahead, obviously, of a few of the people that placed, ahead of him in 84 and 85. No question. No question he should have. But Lee Haney, I don't know. I don't know. Wasn't there. I mean, that's competition, okay? But some of the guys that placed ahead of him, I really don't think. No, I can't go there. I don't believe they should have. But as far as, just like Nick said, I got to agree. Dethroning Lee Haney, not so sure. Don't know. Not so sure. Now, do you think him coming out, being an openly gay bodybuilder, harmed his placings? Yeah, of course it did. Now, I don't know, to my knowledge, I didn't know, and the people around me, we didn't know that Bob Paris was gay back in 84 and 85. Now, I don't know, maybe people around him knew, but from the magazines and things, 84, 85, we didn't know that. But, of course, later, he was very open, and he married Rod Jackson, and I don't remember what year that was, but, Robert Kennedy, awesome guy. Robert Kennedy, just incredible man, God rest his soul. He put him and his husband on the cover of Muscle Mag International. So that was, pretty bold statement there. Clearly no bigotry on Mr. Kennedy's behalf, that's for sure. But yeah, I actually, it occurred to me, I thought that he got blackballed, once he really came out. that I was aware of, it seemed pretty clear to me. It was evident that he got blackballed. I mean, look what happened to Christian Duffy. Not comparing them, because Christian Duffy, in his day, even through what was available in the magazines that ran months behind, seemed like he was a more, I don't know, a guy that was a little bit edgier, a little bit maybe wilder, than Bob. But Christian Duffy, another guy that was openly at least bisexual, at least, and he got blackballed, and Christian Duffy was one of the huge mass monsters, way ahead of the curve in that regard in his era. And then you look today. Do you think there are no gay bodybuilders? Do you think there are no gay men that make it to the pro ranks in bodybuilding? And yet, when was the last time a pro bodybuilder, a man, came out and was openly gay? Interviews, everything was just openly out there and gay. And particularly, especially had a male partner and had no qualms about sharing that, or at least, letting people see that out in public and things, where it could be photographed and reported on and every other thing. When was the last time you heard of a gay bodybuilder like that, a man? I don't even know of any, And why? Well, because they saw what happened to anybody that even went a little bit that way and came out, and was open about who they were. Like Bob Paris in his case, right? I think that there are guys, there's no doubt, there's certainly gay male bodybuilders that make it to the pro ranks, but they can't come out. They're not going to come out, or at least so far, because they saw what happened, how it impacted the earning ability of these other guys, especially Bob Paris being like the number one. So it's odd to me. That's one thing I've always thought was kind of a bone of contention for a sport. When you look at professional bodybuilding, for a sport that has such a large gay audience, that is so loyal and just spends the money, and just, I've always believed, honestly, that from what I've seen and experienced, that if you removed the gay audience from bodybuilding, there would never have been any kind of professional bodybuilding, at least nowhere near the level that it is today. It wouldn't have gotten this far. So I'm going to say mainstream. It's not mainstream compared to other sports, but everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows what it is. They may not know who all are involved, and but everybody knows there's professional bodybuilding and it's a sport, and everybody is aware of that. When I was a kid, you didn't see it anywhere. When I was a little kid. Anyway, it just seems kind of unfortunate, because if there are any young men out there that are gay, and it would kind of probably be helpful if they had somebody they could look to in bodybuilding, if they're a bodybuilding fan that was an openly gay bodybuilder, that they could relate to, rather than feel as if, no gay guys can be pros, or they're not allowed, or, you understand what I'm saying, or have to realize that a sport that they support and spend so much money on are so loyal, they're not included. So, that is what it is. But Bob Paris, should he have won the Olympia? There's probably at least an Olympia somewhere in all those he should have won. But then again, those guys back in that day, in that era, in the 80s, late 80s, into the 90s, those guys, if you look at these guys, man, they were all like superstar physiques, incredible. The caliber of those physiques, the combination between the muscularity and the aesthetic is just far, far surpasses really what we mostly have today in the pro lineup. It just does. All right, that's it. You agree, disagree, whatever. Let me know. You guys take care. Have a great evening.